Good morning, ladies. A room full of sisters. Awesome. What a beautiful sight. We're delighted to be here with you today. I am Sherlon McWhorter, the moderator of this awesome, wonderful panel of smart, bright, intelligent, hardworking, got it going on badasses. So we are excited to be here with you. We did a drive run one day. We got on the phone and we had some conversations and it was awesome. And so this is going to be a great panel for you. We want you to be involved and we are going to keep our comments to a minimum so that you'll have an opportunity to ask the questions that you want to ask as well. Our panelists are I'm really excited. I should just tell you that. I'm really excited. So if I start doing a little dance or something like that, you know why, right? So Sherlon, just excited. I am a local attorney here in South Florida, down in Miami. Was a county court judge for a number of years and also just recently retired from the state system and started my own law firm. Yeah. Yeah. So again, what I'm going to do is to allow them to introduce themselves to you. They can do that better. We are here to talk about leadership. You're leaders. We're leaders. We're all leaders. We're born leaders, right? People say, are you born leaders or can you make a leader? I think that there are some people who are just born leaders, right? They just are. But there are other people, they were not born that way, but they've learned to be leaders. And so I don't think it's an either or. I think it's just what comes natural for you. And so if you're not a leader and you want to learn about being a leader and how to become a leader, what do you do to become a leader? You're in the right place this morning. And so we're going to start with the vice mayor of the beautiful city of Opelika, talk about a leader, and recently just got out there, put her hat threw it in the ring. I'm talking about just threw it in there, right? Threw it in there, ran a race, and here we are, the vice mayor. First time around, Veronica.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is a beautiful sea of women of color. Like Sherlon McWhorter, Esquire, just said, I am Veronica Williams, Vice Mayor, newly elected Vice Mayor of the great city of Opelika. I am also a high school assistant principal at Miami-Jackson Senior High School. And I won't say anything after that. So people got other plans. However, and I also have my nephews that I am the legal guardian of recently, of my identical twin sister. So yes, I am a leader in so many ways, not only home, but in my profession. Also, I lead in the best sorority of all, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Gotta get that shout out. And so just wanted to, I'm so happy to be here and talk about developing leaders and just empower others. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. And gentleman in the back there. My name is Christina Romulus. I am the city commissioner in the city of Boynton Beach, so a little bit north of here. Thank you, thank you. I got elected back in 2016. I'm actually getting ready to term out of office. March 2022 will be my last month in office, so there's a little countdown happening here. But my last 5.5 years of service have just led to so many amazing changes in my community, and I'm so proud, and it's been the journey of a lifetime. When I first ran for office, I was 26 years old. I was pregnant with my second son, and I was challenged a retired firefighter who was the incumbent at the time. Shouldn't have won, had no business running as a first-time a candidate, just like my counterpart here. But I saw something that was necessary in my community. It was the first time that a black woman had sat in that seat, which had been predominantly always a white seat. It was the first time that a Haitian American woman had sat in that seat as well. And being the fact that I was pregnant, it was also a proof to so many others that it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, or what walk of life you're in, you can do it. When I say I was pregnant, I was pregnant. I literally won on March 15th, took the oath of office March 23rd, gave birth April 8th, and was sitting on the dais by April 12th.
Did I tell you we had a room full of badasses?
So if I can do it, pregnant and all, I expect all y'all to be on the dais next week, okay? Thank you.
Can you hear me? Perfect. So my name's Lucy Sedgwick. I'm the president and CEO of Ruth's List Florida. And thank you. Our mission is to elect Democratic pro-choice women to all levels of office. I'm actually coming to you right now from St. Pete, Florida, which is where I live, but we have staff all across the state. And we were founded in 2008. And since then, we've raised over $5 million for women candidates. We've directly elected over 200, including one of the wonderful women sitting next to me who's going to speak next. And I'm also proud to say that we've trained over 3,000 women on how to run for office, along with campaign staff to support their teams. And I'm honored to be here today. 40% of our candidates who have won office are women of color. We're really proud of that fact and want to continue that work. And that's part of why I'm just excited to be here and be part of this conversation. I'm actually new to Florida. I moved here, took a job at Ruth's List back in January. I do not recommend relocating across the country during a global pandemic, but I did it. And prior to this, I ran a campaign in Colorado to protect abortion access. There was a ballot initiative that would have banned abortion later in pregnancy. And $10 million later, we secured the right for women and anyone with a uterus to receive abortion care in Colorado. Thank you. And that would not have been possible without women like you all across Colorado speaking out, and especially now with the word coming out of Texas, it's more important now than ever because we know that Texas patients are headed north, and we also know that Florida is next. So honored to be here today. Thank you.
Not that I don't trust it, but. Good morning.
Good morning.
Before I introduce myself, may I ask you for something very special to observe a moment of silence in memory of all those who lost their lives 20 years ago in the tragic incident of 9/11, for those families and also the first responders. Is that okay? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Where else can we have such a beautiful room full of sisters and a few brothers? And where else? Where else? On 9/11 too. Thank you so much for having me here this morning with all those lovely sisters. And also I have to recognize my other friend, my dear sister and colleagues, Representative Felicia Robinson, State Representative High Court. Thank you. And also my little sister, I always call her my little sister, but she's not little, believe me, she's big in spirit. Commissioner Nancy Mateo of Cold Springs. Yes, I cannot forget my sisters because we are in the struggle together. All of us who are elected officials, we are in the struggles together. My name is Marie Woodson, and I proudly represent District 101, which is part of Hollywood, Pembroke Pines, Miramar, Hallandale, West Park, and Pembroke Park. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you. Guess what? When I ran for office for the first time last year with all those sisters who are in here, and thank you so much for supporting me, for the endorsement and everything else. When I ran, that was my first time running after 30-some years. I'm not going to tell you how many years. Then you're going to say, oh, she's old. No, I was 21 when I started working for county government. Yes. And when I ran for office, I was told that, you didn't have the experience, you worked for county government, but you never been in office, and I had a mayor. I was running against a mayor and a vice mayor. Nothing personal to you. But guess what? And they both had 15 and 12 years in office. Get what? We kicked some butts. All right? You know women, we are all about, that's what we all about. Taking it, aim it, okay? Aim it. You have to have your eyes on it. You have to want it real bad. And what we did, we worked hard and secured the seat with the help of so many people. So thank you for having me here. I look forward to a great discussion with you. Ask them the questions. Don't ask me the questions, but I'll talk to you. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you. So when we're talking about leadership, and obviously we've talked about how we're all leaders. You're leaders at your house. You're leaders in your community. You're leaders at your church. You're leaders at your jobs. We're all leaders. But John Maxwell says, if you say that you're a leader and you look back and nobody's behind you, you're just out for a walk, right? And so it is really important in terms of this, to have this conversation about leadership. These are obviously leaders. You've heard what they said. They never ran before, just I'm doing it, right? I'm a leader. I know I'm a leader. I believe in me. So what I'd like for them to do is to talk to these leaders, these people who may one day want to be where you are. Talk to them about how your journey, right? What is it that finally pushed you over the edge where you said, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to do this, right? And we started with Veronica, so we'll start with you this time.
Sure. So for me, I think a lot of women probably follow the same kind of path into leadership roles, where it was almost kicking and screaming, where I really did not want to go into the role that I inhabit now. I had supported many of my friends and many of the people, men specifically, who were in office, and I had helped guide their campaigns and helped in the background, and I learned so much, but I never saw myself in that spotlight. I always just saw myself as the leader, as the supporter. And so at one point, people just started to get to know me and my name and my record, and were just telling me, Christina, run. And I'm like, who, me? No, I'm not. I have a master's in biomedical sciences. I can't run for office. I'm not political enough. I'm getting ready to go to medical school. I can't run for office. So I found all the excuses and all the reasons why I shouldn't. And when I got on that dais, I realized I was smarter than all the other men on that dais combined. And it not to say it in a braggadocious way, but simply to say that we are so qualified, overqualified even, but we step down, we say, oh no, I'll let someone else take no, I'll stay back here. And so when I finally decided, I'm a woman of God, so I got on my knees and I prayed to God. I asked him, I'm like, God, please guide me, because I don't know how to do this, and I've never done this, and I don't know if you even want me to do this. I want your guidance. So I just remember, and I don't tell this story very often, but I just remember seeing a lake, and the lake was just so still and so calm. And I felt like it was God telling me, like, I'm going to keep it calm. I've got your back. Go ahead, go. And so I did. And, the timing of it couldn't have been just even, I was pregnant. I really, it was not planned. I was not trying to go into running an election in the middle of my third trimester, but I did. And God definitely had my back. We really did. And I came across that finish line. And my role in office since then has been to, as our moderator has said, to lead and guide others. And I've been doing that all along the way. I've been inspiring and pushing and motivating and telling other women, don't wait until you're given permission. Just do it. Just run. And with that, we have some amazing leaders who have come up behind me. I have my friend here, Angela Cruz, who's going to be hopefully replacing me when I get out of office. She's currently running her campaign right now in the city of Boynton Beach. And, other women such as Nancy, who came up, somebody who told me it was you who inspired me to run. And I didn't intend on being an inspiration. I just did it because finally I stepped up and stopped being afraid. And so I did it, and so many others have been able to follow the same footsteps.
So Veronica, can you answer that same question?
Well, I echo your sentiments. About 5, maybe 6 years ago, I'm going to put her on a spot. Felicia Robinson, I saw her. She's at her school. We're both assistant principals. Maybe you don't know that. And I said, Felicia, she's one of the first people I said, how do we do this? How are you in office and in your capacity? And as I don't think you were AP yet, and she's like, you could do it. You're vice mayor. And I'm like, oh God, I'm so nervous. Felicia pushed me and kept telling me, go. I'll see Felicia out in the community. And she's like, you could do it. Val Deming said something recently. She said, we ask ourselves 7 times, should I run? Maybe I should run. Maybe I should do it. Not just run for office, because I'm not here to say run for office. I'm saying just whatever leadership role you want to step in. Sometimes truth be told, more power happens outside of office than it does in the actual seat. But should I do this one thing that God laid on my heart? We ask ourselves over and over and over, and sometimes years go by before we actually walk into that destiny. Men, on the other hand, according to Val Demings, walk into J.C. Penney's, put on a suit, or Brooks Brothers, and say, I look great. I'm running for governor. I look amazing in this suit. I'm running for president. No pre-quals, no prereqs. While we as women feel like we have to have this extreme resume of just pages and pages and pages of community service and pages and pages and pages of activism. And that's just not how, unfortunately, I know men are here, but that's just not how they think. And so sometimes we have to step into our destiny whether we think we're ready or not. And if we're lucky to have ran one time and we won, but sometimes fear grips us. And we have to, as women, let go of fear. I know for me, and if you don't know, the city of Opelika is just riddled with negative connotation. So I wanted to, and I always say, oh, be the change. I really did want to be the change. And I really did want to rewrite the narrative of my community. So I figured, you know what? I hate being in the forefront, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to run for office and be the change I want to see. So I implore you, push yourself to go to that next level, whether it is you want to open a business, because that's leadership. You want to be an entrepreneur and you're afraid. Let go of the grip of fear and just step into your destiny.
Absolutely. Okay, Marie, if you can answer.
Let me see if I can top that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
These competitive women.
We're just messing with each other. Hey, that's what leadership is about too. You have to see yourself doing better what you want to do. Anyway, I want to acknowledge the queen back there. You all know I have to acknowledge somebody. The queen who just walked in, who made this conference possible, Bernadette Norris Mink. Thank you so much, sister. Thank you. Thank you. This is great what you're doing. We need to elevate each other. We need to empower each other. We need to be there for each other. Well, how did I get here, right? That's what you want to know, right? Guess what? The reason that I decided to run for office is twofold. The first one was I was born and raised in Haiti and came here at the age of 21. Born and raised in Haiti, only in the United States, like Obama said. While I was in Haiti, of course, if you all know anything about Haitian parents, Nancy can attest to that. Both commissioners can attest to that. If you know any Haitian parents, if you're bright in school or you're doing well in school, they want you to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. That's all they want you to. They don't know anything else. So my father wanted me to become a medical doctor. Who said they were going to go to medical? Haitian parents again. So medical school was not for me. My parents was really forming a public servant, not really a doctor. Because at a very young age, my dad used to make me go to school and used to make me teach kids during the summer whose parents couldn't afford to send them to school. So right then and there, that was the service that started that they did not even know. But after I finished high school, went to my first 2 years of college, went to take the MCAT. I studied very hard because I wanted to please my parents. I wanted to be a doctor. Guess what? My name did not even show up on the list when they give it because I did not have a godfather working in the government. That was the only reason. You can only get into that one medical school that they had in Haiti if you had a godfather. So because of that, my father decided to send me over here because he said if I die and leave you some money or the land, you would never be able to do anything with it if you don't have anything up here. So that's how I ended up coming here. I was so mad when I left home. This is the home that you know, your family, your parents. So I said, you know what? Politics impacted me in a very bad way. So whenever I have a chance, I'm going to use politics to help others, to be a better person and not hurt people, but help them, take them from A to B to all the way to Z. That was one reason that I've always said I was going to run for office. But I never wanted to do it because I ended up meeting the man of my life, got married, and I wanted to be a mother, full-time mother, working for county government full-time. I said, when I leave the county, I'm going to run for office. That was one. The second reason is, when you work in county government, I don't know, some of you have worked for county government. I started at the bottom of the barrel as a social worker aide. I worked my way up while I went to school full-time, 12 credits, and work full-time as well, okay? This is hard work. You have to be willing to do the work. Like Veronica said, you have to do the work. So I did the work, worked full-time, went to school full-time, started at the bottom of the barrel, worked my way up to the top where I was in charge of 5 major divisions for Miami-Dade County. Social services, domestic violence, senior services, Greater Miami Service Corps, psychological services. At one time, I was in charge of VP Ken School Edness as well. So you get into county government where you hit the politics, okay? You hit the wall where the politics does not play in your favor, because I'm a politician, but I don't play politics, okay? So things happen where you say, okay, I need to go because I hit the wall. I can't go any further. And a lot of the things that you want to do to help people, you cannot do it. And then the politics is so dirty. So I went home and told my husband I was retiring. He said, retiring? I said, yes, I'm retiring. I'm going to run for office. He said, no, you know, I'm very private and I don't like politics. I said, honey, I want to do this. And you married me. You say you are going to be by me in good and bad and thick and thin. You need to support me.
Yes, good.
And that's what he did. He got
Wonderful.
behind me. And this is why I ran for office.
Awesome.
Guess what? If you want something, you have to go after it. You have to do what you need to do.
Wonderful.
This is why I'm where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Lucy, what I'd like to do is just kind of right now, in terms of what you do, and we're talking about leadership, what are the traits in terms of you when you're dealing with these people who come, you know, and say, look, I want Ruth, I want you guys to help me out. Those people that are successful, what does their leadership background look like? And is it something that we all have to have, or do people come in different shapes and forms? Kind of tell us about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Well, I really think in many ways the Vice Mayor already answered this. You don't need pages and pages of community service. You don't need to be an expert on every issue that could possibly affect your constituents. And far too often women think, if I don't check every single box here, I'm not going to apply for the job. And the same thing is true for running for office. And it's part of what called me to Ruth's list, really, is I wanted to make sure that I was one of those 7 people that is asking every woman I meet to run for office. So let me just get it out there. I think every single one of you should run for office. And at the end of the day, there's no kind of perfect model. Every person, every leader is unique. That said, I think there are kind of a set of things that we look for. We look for someone who is passionate. We look for someone who is committed to service. And we look for someone who's a hard worker. And you can imagine for all 3 of those, there are many different ways that that can show up. You might be passionate about education. You might be passionate about economic issues or the environment. There are many different ways in your life to demonstrate that you're a hard worker, right? It could be that you are a single mother. It could be that you are a stay-at-home mom taking care of 5 kids. It could be that you are now the new legal guardian for 2 of your kids. There are lots of different ways that leadership can show up, and I think many times in politics we make the mistake of assuming the only leadership that matters is corporate leadership, or the only leadership that matters is public service. And the reality is there are many different types of experiences that can bring you to the table and make you qualified to run for office. And so if you are at this conference, I guarantee you that you are qualified.
Wonderful, thank you. So my next question is, Veronica, do you have a mentor? Did you have a mentor? How has that person helped you? And how do you help others, other women to become leaders as well?
Well, that's a hard question, because I think in my 40 years of life, I've had so many mentors. consider Sherlon definitely a mentor. I consider Bernadette a mentor. I consider so many women, even in this room, mentors. I think we pull from women when we need a certain thing. I just called Sherlon the other day, like, I need to talk about this thing. Maybe if it's a man, I'm going to go somewhere else. But, you know, mentorship, and it's interesting because even in my own profession, I can't even walk into my office because there's so many girls, you know, it's high school. Oh, Miss Williams, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, I think I'm mentoring somebody. I think I'm really, and my other colleagues, they're like, oh, your diamonds, they're at your door, your diamonds are here. And so here I am trying to cultivate these young girls who are in high school, who it's the urban core. So this isn't like, oh, I grew up in this, in Jack and Jill and all this stuff. These girls are like, this tough and rough city they're living in. But I think about myself, and I think about, man, when I was in school, I wanted to be like this teacher, this principal, this person. So I'm hoping that I am that person that they see in me, that one day someone 20 years from now, hopefully I still look like this, will come back and say, I saw this on your table. I saw this thing, and I really want to in you. I do want to tell a story. My first year as an assistant principal, I had this little girl. Her name is Alexis. She would stare at me. She'd stare at me. My first day at this school, first assignment, she would stare at me. And finally, she said, after a few weeks, you look just like my deceased mother, who had just passed. And she said, just so when I would walk into the building, looking at you comforted me. If she had never told me that, we would never know. Someone is always watching.
Right.
Absolutely. And you never know why. Mm-hmm. So Alexis and I, she's at Florida State now, that's my girl. But I know I serve a purpose for Alexis, because my purpose for Alexis is to remind her of her mother. That's my purpose. And I step into that purpose for Alexis, whatever that is. So being a mentor shows up in so many ways that you don't even know who's watching you. Mm-hmm. So just always be prepared to just step into that mentorship role.
Thank you. I think you make a very good point in terms of watching, because mentorship doesn't have to be formal, right? We don't have to sit down and sign a paper and agree that I'm going to be your mentor. We don't have to talk every day, all day, right? And so when you're sitting and you're thinking about where it is that you want to go, what you want to do, find out who is it that can mentor you from afar or up close, right? And believe me, women are glad to do it, right? Women are glad to do it. It's very flattering, that someone, thinks enough of you. And so I want you, before you leave here, we talk about to-dos. Who is it that you can reach out to, right, in terms of mentoring for you? Think about that. Talk to us.
So I love that question, because that's literally one of the main reasons why I launched my company. If you look in your bag, you'll see the little insert in there. The name of my company is called Politicalm, and our tagline is "Keep calm, it's just politics." And it's meant for women coming into politics, men too, coming into politics, going through politics, and ultimately transitioning out of politics. We're training, we're coaching you, and we're providing mental health resources to support you while you're in this leadership position. And the reason why I launched this company was because I had mentors who've poured into me, who have made me become the person I am today, from the time I was a little girl to up till now. And I'm always looking for new mentors, and I'm always looking for new mentees. So feel free to talk to me if you need a mentee. But I want you to understand that women and men can also have the role of mentorship. One of my most important mentors in my life is a man, and he established this role without me even realizing that that's what he was doing, because he cared so much for me during the time of my campaign, which was the most difficult time of my life, because I was pregnant, carrying a child. I already had a 2-year-old, and I was running for office. And I'll tell you a little story to show you what his impact. You're running a campaign. Your head is not there. You're pregnant. Your head is definitely not there. And I had a constituent, I wasn't even elected yet, but he comes to my door and knocks. I'm making myself breakfast. It was the last bagel in my fridge. I had not gone grocery shopping. Instacart did not exist yet. So I'm telling you, it's the struggle. So he comes to my door and he starts talking to me. He's telling me about all these things, and I'm like, yep, thank you, yes, sir, okay, thank you. So 15 minutes later, he leaves. I turn around and just smoke all up in my kitchen. My bagel was just gone. And so I'm pregnant, so please forgive what happens next. I just started boo-hoo crying, just bawling for a burnt bagel. I was bawling, okay? And I called my husband, but my husband was at work. He didn't pick up. I called my mentor. I'm like, I couldn't even get the words out. I'm like, I'm hungry. I have no food. My bagel burnt. He was on his way. He had just come from a lunch. He had the best steak from Okeechobee Steakhouse in West Palm Beach. If any of you have ever been, if you haven't gone, go. He brought me that steak. No questions asked. He just made a U-turn, came to my house, dropped it off. I ate that steak like it was the last piece of meat on earth. And I will never forget that day because he sacrificed his lunch for me. And I didn't understand at that time, but I just knew that it was such a big sacrifice. And he kind of told me, he's like, Christina, like, that was my lunch. I was supposed to eat that. But you called me and you were boo-hoo crying, so I brought it for you. But he's been there not only from the bagel incident, but all the way through. And he's been the person to help me manage the highs and lows of being in office, of being a mother, of being a wife. Because he's married, his beautiful wife is the actual superintendent, the attorney, our general counsel in Palm Beach County School District. So it's been just such a journey to have him as a mentor, and it's taught me how to be a good mentor to others because you have to be willing to put yourself sometimes in the back seat in order to help somebody.
Yes.
And he gave me that piece of steak. It was so much more than just a piece of steak for me that day.
Wonderful.
I'll never forget it. So you can find a mentor in anyone. Anyone can mentor you. And at any stage, they can mentor you. Any age, they can mentor you. And vice versa, you can be a mentor. So I learned how to be a good mentor from him, and I'm passing that forward through the women and the different men that I get to now mentor and help bring them into this walk of life of being in public service, because it's not an easy calling to respond to. But if you choose to do it, you can know that you have people who got your back and who won't let you down.
Wonderful.
Actually, mentorship is one of my favorite things because we have so many young women who need us to take them under the wings. At first, when I first came here, I did not know anything about mentorship. I didn't. And I wish that I knew at the time, because along the way, once I found out about mentorship, that was it for me. Everybody and anybody that I encountered, I was looking at you as a mentor. Because we can learn so much from each other, so much. Just because we're in office doesn't make us better than you. Believe me, sometimes you know more than we do, you're smarter than we do, and we can learn from you as well. But it's very, very important for us to take others under our wings. Extremely important, because the exposure, the connection, the resources that you can share with others are without limit. And we can only excel if we help each other as women. Look at what's going on now. Right here, it's some type of mentorship that's going on, because we are learning from each other. We're learning from you. I don't know what questions you have for us. When I was the chairwoman of the Commission for Women in Miami-Dade County, I started a scholarship and a mentorship as well, just so we can take a lot of the young women. Sometimes some people are older than you and they ask you to be their mentors. I'm always looking for somebody to mentor me. People think that I know so much because no. Your mentor help you in so many ways sometimes that you don't expect, in your own life and also in your professional life. So it's extremely important for all of us to look. Even in your neighborhood, you might see a young woman, just like you mentioned, that you think might need some mentoring, they might need some help. Please take the time to do that. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take much. And sometimes the connections that you have, they're not for you. They're for you to help somebody else. They're not for you. Believe me, God puts you in places for a reason, so you can help elevate others, so you can really help them to move from where they are to another level. And what we don't understand, we don't need to have it all. We don't. We have to share it with others. Share the gift that you have with some others, and the world would be a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. What I'd like to talk about, to segue to Lucy, is sponsorship. So you have mentorship, but you also have sponsorship. And what happens with a lot of us is we have mentors, right? But men, especially white men, they have sponsors. What's the difference? This is a person that's sponsoring you. I'm in the room where they're making the decisions, and I'm bringing up your name. I'm suggesting your name for the committee. I'm suggesting your name for the job. And so Ruthless, to me, is somewhat of a sponsor, right? And so kind of talk to us about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So one of the reasons that I'm personally really passionate about electing women, it's not just because I'm a woman, because I was raised by a woman who had very strong opinions and taught me to have strong opinions too, but it's also because the research shows that women are more bipartisan, they're more collaborative, they introduce more bills, they get more bills passed, and all of that, and I see a lot of heads nodding in here like, yeah, obviously, I'm not at all surprised. I think it's because we've been conditioned to reach out and work together. And at Ruthless, it's always been incredibly important to us to not only mentor, but also sponsor. Mm-hmm. Because we know that men, particularly white men, they're doing that for each other. There are passbacks, they're happening, they're lining each other up for their next role. And so we need to do the same. For all of our endorsements, it always comes with a check. For all of our endorsements, we always send an email to all of our members asking them to chip in, because we really want to elevate the women that we've kind of given our seal of approval and make sure that they have the financial resources that they need to win. Not just the one-on-one counseling and coaching, which we do as well, but also making sure that there are financial resources to back that up. But I think the other part of sponsorship, it's not just the check, right? Mm-hmm. It's also I'm putting you up for this thing. You should think about doing this. And we've already heard from these three women on this panel of examples where they've done the same. So I know over here, Angela Cruz is going to be running for office for your seat and for her district and
Different district.
for your district. But as you mentioned earlier, you're like, here she is. I'm speaking at this event. Let me call attention to you.
That's it.
And then over here, we have Rep. Woodson, who immediately goes, let me introduce you to my colleague. Let me also introduce Nancy over here in the back, who spoke on the last panel. Let me call out the other women who are doing this work and make sure that they have a seat at the table. And that's really the work that happens behind the scenes and somewhat organically at Ruthless, but I think that that's actually where our power comes from. And usually when I meet with an elected official, one of my first questions, doesn't matter if they've been in office a day or 2 years, is, so who's going to take your seat next? Who's that woman going to be? Have you found her yet? I'd love to meet her. And those are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves. As we step into leadership, who is the person that I'm bringing up behind me, and what do I need to do now to get them ready to take that place at the table?
Yeah. It's so important to pay it forward. So important to pay it forward. Who are you paying it forward with? What will you do next to help the sister, not your friend, not the one that you grew up with, went to elementary school with, but the person that's near you, the person that works in your building? What will you do to help that person? I tell people that I mentor all the time, you don't have to help me. I don't need anything from you, right? I need for you to pay it forward, right? I don't need to know what you did. You don't have to explain it to me, but I need to know that you're willing to do that. And if you're not willing to do that, then that's a problem. Quick story. Nexie De La Rosa Monroe is a lawyer in Miami-Dade County. I met her when she was in the 10th grade with the women lawyers. We had a program, and we were mentoring, and they paired everybody up at Miami Carroll City. They paired me and Nexie up. Nexie's mother didn't speak English. They lived right next door to the school. She would have to interpret for her mom anytime I was taking her somewhere. I said, God, that's amazing that her mom would just let her tell her, Sherlon's going to take me here. And her mom was like, okay, Sherlon's going to do this. And she's like, okay. Well, when I became a judge, Nexie had just graduated Florida State and was looking for a job. And I said, Nexie, you can come. You can work for me. You can be my judicial assistant. And you can only be here for a year or two at the most, because you need to go to law school, right? 2 years later, Nexie enrolled in law school at Florida State. I became her mentor as I was going up there for my interviews for the judgeship. I take her out to dinner, encourage her, and long story short, Nexie came back. She got married. I married her. This is a mentorship program, okay? I married her. Nexie started her own firm. She's in Miami Lakes. She does family law, and she's doing really well. And so she called me the other day to tell me about this program. I told you I just started my own law practice. I never did that before, right? I'm used to being in control, knowing what to do. Now I have some mentors telling me what to do because I know nothing about what I'm doing, right? But we're women, and we can do it, right? So Nexie now, I'm calling Nexie, what about this? What about that? I told her the other day, you are now the mentor, and I'm the mentee. So it has come full circle. And so I'm sure that you all have these stories, and we all want to create these stories because it's so important. What I'd like to do now is to ask you, like, all of this is good, and yeah, we're giving you the rah-rah story, but there's work to be done, right? If you're thinking about moving up in your company, if you're thinking about running for office, if you're thinking about being the leader that you were created to be, you don't just wake up and be a leader. There's work to be done. What did you do? What boards did you serve on? What is it that helped you to get to where you are? And I want you, Veronica, to tell the story of the work that, because see, it doesn't have to be, I got to be on the board like this one. I mean, the board that she was on, really important, powerful board. She's over it and she's running things. But talk to them, because you mentioned a sorority. Talk to them something so simple that made a big difference. Can you share that?
I'm assuming you're talking about the. Oh no, I got it.
Your committee.
So one of the things I would say, especially now, because I am actually introducing myself to my community, and I have to keep it real. So in my community, everybody that runs for office is known. Like, everyone knows them, and they've ran and they've been on city commission years and years and years. And I would say that I'm doing all this great work in my sorority. I was social action chair and implemented a gun buyback that was so successful and still is. And I'm not the chair anymore, but our chapter is still, keeping that moving forward. And DST rose to the polls, and I'm doing all this great work in my sorority. And I'm in the NAACP, and I grew up there, and I'm also the chair of the Young Adults Committee, something that we implemented and tried to reinvigorate the NAACP, because you would be surprised how many kids, like, I've never heard of the NAACP. So I'm doing all this great work in the community outside of my community. And then I would tell people, so I'm driving back into my yard, close the door, and all this foolishness is happening around me. And then I'll go back out, and I'm doing all this great work, and I went, light bulb, hold on, you can do this. You're smart, you're educated, you're progressive, run for office, do something for your community. But I took that leadership role first in the sorority. I took that leadership role in all the activities that was important to me. It was important. Social action, social justice through committees were important to me. I never saw myself as being a chapter president like Sherlon, but working under those specific, committees and being a committee chair. So I say, if there's something in your community that you want to be a part of, whether it's just, starting a walking club, start that, do it. Let the people in your community know that you want to, or you are a change agent in your community. So that's my story. And thanks.
Thank you. Well, she has a mic. We're talking about boards. We're talking about what things should you get involved in, what things were you involved in, what things you should suggest that they become involved in if they're interested in running for office.
For me, I really just, service has just been a part of who I am and who it's what I do. And as Marie said, and I didn't realize it was a light bulb moment for me when she said it, my parents raised a public servant. I don't even think they knew. And I'll tell you one thing about Haitian parents, they're never satisfied. Because even after I became a city commissioner, people know my name everywhere around Palm Beach County. My dad says, so, when are you going to go to med school? I'm like, Dad, let it go. Just let it go. But anyway, to go back to my point, they're never satisfied. So, for me, I've been a nonprofit executive service. I was supporting small business owners before I ever got into office, helping them find grants and opportunities through their CRA service. I was involved in my local church and always helping and tutoring and mentoring service. So I've never known anything but to serve. But I just never knew that service also had a component of leadership to it. So all it is it's a mindset shift. Shift your mindset. You are a leader. I'm going to tell you all right now, I'm granting you permission. I'm ordaining all of you, okay? She's the ordained one. You all are leaders. You all are servants. And go do what it is that you need to do to change your environment. As she said, become that change agent that you need to be. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be the next city commissioner or the next mayor or the next state representative. If that's what you choose to do, please call me, I'll help you. But if it is that you just need to be the CEO or you need to be the coordinator, the manager, the director, go for it. If you need to become that executive servant, that public servant, that leader, that community leader, that activist, that person that stands up for what's right, that person that goes out there on the picket line and helps lead the march, do it. We all are here and we all have your back. I think that's the beautiful thing about us women. We know how to support each other, and we don't need to ask to support each other. We're just going to be here. So let us know where you need us, and we'll be right there to back you up. Let us know where you need that letter of recommendation. Let us know where you need that person to back you up. Let us know how we can support you and guide you and put you on that pedestal that you need in order to get to that next level of your life.
Wonderful.
And we'll help you get there. That's what we're all about.
Yes.
Right,
Thank you.
ladies?
Thank you.
Yes.
Marie,
Okay.
if you can answer that same question.
I want to clarify what you said about me being the big time on the board. Don't listen.
No explanation needed. Move
Yes,
on.
Yes.
Order in the court. Order in the court.
Because it wasn't that way. So it said start off.
That's women. That's one thing about us. We're very modest, right? No, Marie, you did a good job, and I'm just acknowledging that. So tell me about the boards and the things that you would suggest that people do, because you do have to get out and you need to make yourself known. How do you do that?
Now I can clarify. No, I'm just kidding. No, but she mentioned that I was and that's big board. Yes, the Miami-Dade County Commission for Women is one of the largest board in Miami-Dade County. But I did not start there. I started as a member of the board 10 years after. You know how hard it is being a woman, being a Haitian woman, to get to being the chairwoman of the Commission for Women. So it took some work, okay? And at one time I was even going to run. There were two people who were from different races who did not want somebody black to be the board chair, okay? And I had to deal with that. But guess what? I fought them real bad, and the following year I became the chair. So you have to do that. But it's not about big boards only. Let me tell you something. I hope every single one of you here wants to become either an elected officials or whatever you set your mind to do. And just like my colleagues say, if you want to become an elected official, talk to every single one of us. We will help you. I make time for my sisters. I might not have time for everybody else, but I make time. Some of the things that you can start doing in your position now where you are, okay? Start your campaign. It doesn't start the day that you decide to run. I'm telling you, mine started when I was in Haiti, okay? And it translated into when I came here. I use every cent, and Ruth Liz, thank you so much. Let me tell you, y'all need to connect with this woman, okay? I had the chance to meet her. She has not been there that long, but she has impressed me so much by the way she is. We met, and I picked her brain, and I saw what she's about, because sometimes some people say they with you, they not with you, especially when it comes to politics. And I'm going to tell you just like it is. But she's real. She has her heart in the right place, and you remind me of Gloria, who used to support us as women as well. So if you have a chance, talk to her. Get her contact. And I want every single one of you, hey, find the seat that you want to run. Find the seat that you want to go for. Some of you might be the type who wants to be behind someone who is running. And we need those type of women too, because not all of us are slated to be in office. But We all have the power within us to do it. So
Yes.
think about it and see what you want to do and start joining some local board. You know, any boards, even if it's a church board, guess what? You make connections in those boards, you learn from people, and wherever you go, you meet people. Always try to get the contacts. Talk to them. I call people who I was in middle school, elementary school with when I was running
Yes.
for office. Guess what? They gave me money. All right?
Yes.
And you need all that. But we'll talk later. I know we press for time. I can talk to you all day. Not because I'm a politician, because I like to help. That's why.
Yes.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, we're going to give Lucy the last word. And Lucy, I'm going to let you share whatever you'd like to share at this point, whatever you think.
Yeah, of course. I'll start by saying I have a ton of business cards. Come up and talk to me afterwards. I would love to connect with each and every one of you. That's really my job. And it comes down to sisterhood for me. I do this work because I was raised by a mother who was the primary breadwinner. She also had to take care of me and my brother. My brother had a lot of health issues growing up, so it was tough. And it wasn't really even until college that I realized that even though my mother was married, she was doing all the work at home in addition to going out and making the majority of money for the family. And you know what she did? She took me every year to vote in every election. Some of my earliest memories are like pulling the little lever in the booth, and my mom would have to like lift me up so that I could do it. And it really just fostered in me this sense of, being really proud to be a woman, to be raised by a strong woman, and to want to help other women find that potential. And this isn't necessarily a panel on running for office. This is a panel on leadership. And leadership can take many different forms. And I think when it comes to boards, we've talked a lot about, hey, you should just do it, just go for it. One of the things I think you should think about when it comes to boards is what are you trying to get out of the experience? Is it about the connections you'll make? Is it about the impact? Does the mission really speak to you? Is it about the skills you'll learn on that particular board? Is it about someone else who serves on the board who you really want to kind of watch and see them in action? Those are all valid reasons to get involved. A lot of the time I think as women, we immediately think just about the impact that we want to make, but you also have to think about your trajectory as a leader and what are the skills and connections that you need to develop. I think sometimes as women we're like uncomfortable being that transactional about it, but you have to be, unfortunately, to get ahead. And speaking of transactions, I am here to help you. So I've got a lot of cards.
Wonderful.
Come up and talk to me. Would love to support all of you, and thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
allowing
Thank
me
you to
the
this panel.
opportunity to join.
Before you leave, I told you I used to wear a robe, and when I walked into the room, people would stand up. I don't know what happened to y'all. But what I'd like for you to do really quickly is raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Say I and state your name. I, Christina Romulus, do solemnly swear that I will be the leader in my community, and with my family, among my friends. I will work hard. I will make my goals known to the people that need to know. I will make sure that my goals are not a secret. So help me God. All right. You've been sworn in. All right, so we have to leave, and you didn't get to ask questions. I hope that we shared some things with you and that you enjoyed the panel. Thank you so much to this panel. Thank you.